Terry does.
Makes me happy.
Yo, what it do, people? Hey, welcome to Word of Mouth Podcast with Nate and Shelby. We are back in the building.
Yes, we are.
And
It's been a while.
are excited. Yes, it has been a while, man. Miss you. How's everything going?
Always
Just
good.
Peachy. She's always good, y'all.
How are
She's
you?
always good. I'm good, great, wonderful, fantastic, awesome, amazing.
Blessed and highly favored.
There you go. Hey, we're back in the building, and we are ready to tackle some real intriguing yet
Touchy.
yet important things on today, and one of them is gonna probably hit home with everybody because we tend to kind of just take ownership. And that's in my Shelby voice. We take ownership of certain things, and we really don't have to take ownership of this particular thing. And so we're going to talk about the word or the state of depression.
Ouch.
Yeah. Might as well start off like that. And also, we may touch into oppression as well because we want to know, what's the difference between. So we're gonna really dive into depression. I think Shelby.
No, we're not. We're not.
No,
We're
No.
just discussing it.
yes, just discussing.
Yes.
It. So, I may have heard that word for the first time maybe 20 years ago, because I grew up in a place where a lot of my growing up was just get up and
Go.
put your big boy drawers on and keep going.
Keep pushing.
Yeah. And I'm not taking away from there were times where I could have sat in that place and really examined myself and kind of got some things straight. But all I knew was to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
That was my whole mindset of just don't stop. Just keep going. Just keep going. You take a licking and you
Keep on ticking.
So I never really understood fully what depression was. First time hearing it, I was like, okay, cool. But I'm a guy, I love to dissect words. And so when I look at the word depression, there's a suffix and a prefix on that word. So I'm looking at the root word. The root word that I see is press.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at press, that's something that you actually do with force or manually.
Yeah.
And so I want to dive into it today to get a better understanding because people just take ownership of this when they stub their toe.
Who you calling out?
Sorry.
You stepping on toes right now.
They take ownership of it, man, when they go through, a bad relationship or, you lose a job or something to that sort. And I don't want people to think, oh, man, you don't know what you're talking about. People really do go through some stuff. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
This is just an honest conversation that we're having. I want a better understanding. Do we have to just feel bad for the rest of our lives when we get to that state of depression? So let's talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about it.
That was a good opener right there. So
Well, yeah, you just did it right there. So
I don't know. I don't know how to. Let's go to 2020. I heard a lot of that word
yeah, it was bad.
in 2020, and we all were affected by the disease of coronavirus and COVID-19 and stuff like that. We all saw what happened. The whole world saw what happened, and it allowed people to isolate.
Forced them to.
Yeah, and that produced a lot of depression.
Yes, it did.
So I want to get a better understanding. This is just for me. I don't know if it's for you, Shell, but for me.
Right.
Can I ask you a question? Did you experience or know of someone that experienced a level of depression? And then my second question, or kind of make it the first question, what is the definition of
Well, let me tell you,
it? Thank you.
I pre-gamed and I figured that out.
Good job. Good job.
Okay, depression, feelings of severe despondency and dejection. And dejection, what did we say it was? Dejection is.
Overwhelming type,
Hold on, because that one I didn't.
something of sadness.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course, now I don't have a signal.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, devil doesn't want us talking about that. Anyways, I did not experience that during 2020. I did not experience that during COVID, but I do know that it was a tremendous. I would say that was actually like an epidemic during that time,
I believe it.
because that's what happens when people isolate, when they're taken away from their relationships.
Wow. So they depress.
Because there's pressure on them and they can't share it with others, bounce it off of others.
So that, and you just gave me a better understanding. So depression is a form of pressure that you can't handle.
I think it can be, yeah.
Huh. Is it our choice not to handle it? Or do we just accept the fact that we're just in that state and we go to the doctor and I'm not playing down medical. Oh my God, somebody may take that wrong. I'm not a big fan of giving a pill for everything.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it.
Right.
I do think that there are times where we can really just get a better understanding of what we are going through and deal with it face value instead of saying, sign me up for a pill.
Well, I think that what people need to understand, and if they haven't listened to us before, we're believers. And so what we're talking about is depression from a believer's point of view.
Thank you.
And how we should try and overcome it and how we should handle it. But if we've both been islanders.
Facts.
And we know about isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be lying if I didn't say I had moments of being depressed. I was never I was never suffering from depression necessarily, where it was like a clinical thing. But yeah, you have moments as believers where you're depressed.
I agree.
And the enemy likes you there.
I agree.
And wants to keep you there, because if he can isolate you and keep you in your space, then
And
you're
keep pulling you down.
right. It separates you from God.
Okay. Okay. So let's ride right there. So when you feel those moments of depression or to just feel depressed, you're being pulled down or sunken into, in my head, maybe a dark hole.
Mm-hmm.
And you're isolated, so no one actually hears you screaming for help.
Do you even scream?
Or, yeah, you're right. Do you even?
A lot of people just cry. A lot of people just go off on their own and isolate further.
Oh.
Because the voices and the things that they're playing in their head are stronger than what they can handle.
You're teaching me now, because I guess I played it off so many times, but I've been at that place of voices. I've been at that place of, ain't nobody gonna help me anyway. I've been at that place of,
I'm not worthy of help.
or even to the place of giving up, like, oh, it is what it is then.
Well, and I think for me personally, I don't want to burden other people with my issues. So I keep them to myself.
And you sink deeper.
And if I'm being real honest, it's because I've been disappointed so many times by people that I counted on to help me. So
that's all of us.
You learn to just fend and deal with it on your own.
How did you get out that place?
Of being depressed, having depressed moments?
Yes. Or, I mean, I'm quite sure we still deal with those moments.
Oh, yeah.
We're human.
Oh, I was just there a couple days ago. But I had a big realization. Anyways, I think I mean, I think as a human, there's always moments. It's okay to have moments of sadness. You have to
Mhm.
feel emotions. You have to. You have to. You're human. You can't avoid that kind of stuff completely. But I think it's dangerous when you get stuck in that place,
Mm.
and or it progressively keeps getting worse, which is what I would consider depression. But when I'm in those places, it depends. I mean, I can get there for a couple days, but because I know of whose child I am, and because I know that I don't have to own that stuff
Mm.
and it really doesn't belong to me, I'm allowing it. I'll get to a point where I get really ticked off at the enemy and I'm just like, I'm done with this. This is ridiculous.
So you just get mad.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that's a good way of coming out. Hey, you know what? I've been here too long.
Right.
Forget that. I'm out.
Yeah.
I got it. That's a good way of dealing with it.
But I would say dealing with, I mean, I'm the kind of person, I think I'm similar to you in that if I just keep myself busy, then I don't have to deal with those things that I know that are underlying.
Mm.
So that's, I think, actually trying to deal with it is just keep it moving
Mm-hmm.
because eventually it'll go away. You know, we just like, oh, it's back there, but it'll go away if I just keep moving.
Is that considered a coping mechanism?
Yeah.
Got it.
Keep pressing.
Got it. But are we dealing with the actual issue
No, no, no.
though?
Not if you're doing that. You're not.
I think
You're avoiding it.
that's where I've been for a while. Where it's just now I I learned how to cope instead of addressing. Which I mean I'm better now, but I know what you're speaking of when you say that it's just a coping mechanism because now it becomes like robotic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, okay, well, I'm just going to do this to avoid this, and I don't have to feel this, and I don't have to do this and that. I guess clinically, that can be a form of depression.
And I think, at least for me personally, you know, when the door gets open to those feelings, it only has to be one. But when the door gets opened, then the rest come trailing in. And then it's like, if you don't cut it off fast enough, then yeah, like, you know, we were talking to someone the other day. You open that door and they come back sevenfold.
Yeah, yeah.
And there'll be 7 times more of them. And then every time that you open that door, there's 7 times. So you're just compounding the problem, which was really hard to get as a human, I think. I don't think we grasp that real well.
Right.
But yeah, and that's so it's kind of like the trickle down effect.
We have to fill the void. So I saw a commercial. I don't know the name of the medicine. I don't even want to promote the medicine, but I saw a commercial, and one of the things that was striking in the commercial was the person was holding up like this sign, and it was a face.
Smiley face.
Yeah, it was like a smiley face, but they were turned away dealing with whatever they were dealing with, but they put on this
Don't we all?
wow, wow. I'm so glad we're diving into it because there have been, I thought it was a gift I had where I can look at someone and I'm going through the worst time of my entire life and you would never know. I thought that was a gift.
I think we all do it. I think we all do it. Some are better than others, obviously. I mean, absolutely.
Oh my God. Like I'm screaming inside for someone to say, are you okay? Can I hug you? Can I pray for you? Something.
Okay, but okay, so let's address that with men because that's a big thing.
It's huge.
Yes.
It's huge.
And we've talked about it in the past, but y'all got to be able to step up and talk about that stuff.
To who? That's the hard part.
Well, that's the sad part.
Definitely sad. But to who? If I tell another man, judging me. If I tell a woman, it better be the right one. Mama, I can tell mama, you know. But it's a form of weakness. It's a form of vulnerability. It's a form of, like, we put on a lot of faces.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
It sounds like it. It sounds like
No, it is. It just straight up is.
But how do we express?
I realize we've created that, but I'm saying it's a creation of bullshit.
It is.
Hmm.
I promise you. And we created it to where now we've mastered it.
And I'm not saying the men need to go around willy nilly crying their eyes out and not being men, but every person, regardless, needs an outlet of some kind.
That they trust.
Yes, I
Mhm.
think
Mhm. I agree with that.
whether it's wife, girlfriend, best friend, whatever. I don't know. Sometimes it's even your workout partner. You don't, it just depends on the relationship. But
I mean,
your
God can use
grandfather,
anybody.
somebody, mentor.
To get your attention, male or female, to get your attention, God can use anyone to open that door to where you're able to at least try to hear his voice. And so, as you said, it can be a bunch of crap if we let it keep riding for so long. Because there are avenues that God sent. God is saying, okay, you're asking God for help. He's sending the help to you, and you're constantly saying, no, return the sender. He sent you the help. It may not come wrapped the way you want it to be,
Mm-hmm.
but he sent the help. And I know that has happened to me many a times in my life where it was help sitting in front of me. And I'm crying out for God to hear are you hearing me, God? Are you hearing me? I'm
You're
screaming
getting
to
mad
you.
at him.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting angry and frustrated. And he sent the help and I reject.
Yeah. Us people do a lot of peoply things.
Facts. we do. We do and didn't recognize or realize that it was help because it wasn't wrapped the way I wanted to be wrapped. I'm really talking to myself right now because sometimes we do forget that. And I think that's the place where we keep sinking further and further in that hole of depression.
Depression.
There it is.
Well, and there's so many things that can trigger it. And, when COVID was happening, everything was triggering it. People were losing their jobs, businesses were closing,
Yes.
finances were tanking,
Yes.
the kids were home all the time.
Yes.
Everybody was home all the time. Then you couldn't even be home with each other if you had it. So,
Right. Scared for somebody to cough because you're like, oh my God.
yeah, people were, going into hospitals and then you couldn't see them any longer. They were passing. It was terrible. It was absolute. It was terrible.
Rough time.
It was
Rough time.
horrible. Absolutely. I'm amazed that we actually put up with that. But anyways, that's my own little opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
We got through it.
yeah.
Through it.
But yeah, I do know that men's mental health has become more of a topic of discussion,
Mhm.
but I don't know that really we've gotten anywhere with how we're going to address it.
More conversation. I mean, I know you've heard the term, I could talk till I'm blue in the face. I feel like words do have power. The
Oh,
Bible
they
gives an
do.
account
Oh,
that
yeah.
words can penetrate. They might not listen to it right then, but it went in. That seed was planted. So if we continue to talk about it and bring awareness to it, there are men and women that are struggling
Mm-hmm.
and they have said to themselves, nobody knows, nobody cares.
Right.
We have to talk about it because that's a very dark hole.
But those are lies that the enemy puts.
Yes.
Those are lies that he has put as a seed, and you're growing them.
Ooh, ooh. Preach, preacher. That was good.
Well, we do. We grow them. I grow them too. I'm not saying I'm free of it, and I'm a strong believer, but we grow
Good.
them.
That's so good.
And all he has to do is plant the seed.
Wow. Like we're pouring water.
Yeah.
We're giving it sunlight.
Yeah.
Packing the dirt. Oh my God, that's good. That's good. Because the seed was sown already, and this is where it takes, I guess, for someone to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I felt that before. I think that's where it starts. Or
Well, haven't we all felt it? I mean, I can't imagine anybody going through life without having some type of depressed moments.
yeah, that's why we gotta talk about
Yeah,
it.
we need to relate about it. But going back to what you're talking about, with words and planting those seeds. Death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Yes.
And I don't think, and I didn't understand this for a long time, and I'm still not real good at it. But when you're in those places of darkness, do not speak negative things over yourself, because the enemy will just use those suckers to whoop you further and further into that hole.
Yes.
And we have to be really careful at all times. We should be really careful, but especially when we're triggered, we're having some kind of meltdown, whatever. You have to really pay attention to what you're saying about yourself and about your situation. And be quiet if you can't say anything that's positive.
Oh, that's so good. When I was a kid, I heard this term. I don't know if it didn't come from my mom, but I may have heard it in school. And I remember saying to someone, I don't believe that. I was taught that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me.
Words break you like nothing else.
Yeah, I thought that I was like, that's a lie.
Yeah.
That's a lie, because words have way more power than a freaking stick.
Words can curse you. Your life can be
Yes.
afterwards.
Even when we say them,
About ourselves. Yeah.
we were talking, Shelby and I were talking to a person on Sunday, and one of the scriptures that came out was in the book of Isaiah. We speak about the no weapon that is formed against me shall prosper, but it also says that every tongue that rises up against me in judgment, it didn't say every stick, every bullet, every bat. It says every tongue, because as you just said, words have power. If you keep saying to yourself, I'm just this, then you look around 10 years and you realize you are that. You call that on yourself.
Yeah.
But we don't want to address that in its entirety, because we're like, well, words ain't nothing.
I'm going to be here forever. This is how my life's going to be. I'm going to be like this and blah, blah, blah.
I'm just depressed. I'm just broke. I'm just busted in disgust. All that stuff, man. Stop saying that over yourself. Stop it.
Nobody loves me. Nobody cares. Nobody buys me peaches and pears.
There you go. I'll never get a husband. I'll never get
I'll never
get a wife. I'll never
become what I want to be. I'll never. That's the kind of speak we have to stop.
Yes.
That's the kind of loop that plays in our heads, and we have to stop it.
Yes, we do. Even in the book of James, I think it's the second chapter, it says one of the most deadly things there is in life is your tongue. You have to learn how to tame the tongue. Tame it. When James was talking about it, he was saying, this is why it's important not to speak something that you don't want to come on you. Don't speak those things where you're saying, okay, I'm cursed. Why would you even? Some stuff I just scratched my head.
But people don't grasp what they're doing to themselves. And I didn't for a long time, so I'm guilty of it too. It took me a long time to learn that one.
I'm not going to keep saying I'm depressed.
Speak life over yourself.
Yes.
Even if it's lying at the moment.
I wouldn't call it lying. I'd say faith.
Yes.
Because it is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Just read that scripture this morning. Yeah. But yeah, that's true. But yeah, speak life over yourself. Yes. When you get in those places where the loop is playing in your head and you're actually, fighting not to speak negative things, speak positive things, even if you don't feel them. Because I think it's psychiatrically proven that when you can program yourself.
Oh my God. Funny that you say that. I remember when my grandmother was getting ready to pass away, and they were saying, hey, when you go in the room and talk to her, because she had had so many strokes and she was basically a vegetable, but they said that her brain and hearing or something was, she can hear. Mm-hmm. And they said, just keep speaking positive things. Words now. This is not going in there saying, hey, you're just going to die and I'm just going to give up because of you. No, go in there and speak positive. Mm-hmm. It is a known fact that words can create anything. God created the entire world.
Yes, he did.
With words.
Yes, he did.
I didn't see him pick up a boulder. I didn't see him go pour a plant. I mean, go pour a big old jug of water and call it rain. He spoke it.
Yep.
And then he saw it. And then he said it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're missing the concept of it. We got to be careful what we speak.
And I think that we also need to talk about, like what we talked about off mic is that believers are not free from these feelings.
I agree.
Because we do have an enemy that walks around like a roaring lion and is peeping on us all the time, knows our weaknesses, knows what we really struggle with, and can hit us right in those spots really well. And all he has to do is hit us, plant the seed, and he can walk away, and we'll pretty much destroy ourselves.
Oh.
And we have to take ownership of, this is another thing we talked about Sunday with that individual. Like, yeah, we can blame the demonic for a lot of things, and the demonic does do a lot of things to us and can affect us in a lot of ways. But we also play into his hands. If we're not cultivating and built up in our faith.
And taking accountability.
Yeah.
For what we're doing.
Yeah.
You said something that's so good, and we're going to have a part 2 of this. You said, why are we continuing to blame? We know Satan don't have any new tricks.
Nope.
Like he's
nothing
been
new under the sun.
Right. He's been successful in dividing. He's been and I'm not giving him credit or glory. This is stuff that has been stated, seen, and done. He doesn't use anything new.
Nope.
So
he doesn't have to.
That part, because once he, as you said, plant the seed, we go get the water.
The fertilizer, lots of fertilizer.
And we're cultivating that thing so well. So we have to have a part 2 of this, because she said something that was good. This is not just unbelievers. These are believers. This is everybody. This is across the board. I don't care what your title is. You can be a pastor, bishop. Yeah, you struggle too, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, I think sometimes they're under the most attack.
That
and we
part.
all know that the attacks come when you're about to really do something great for the kingdom. That's when they really press hard on you. Or when, like what we experienced Sunday, you stomp on his territory and he gets really angry about it.
Let's talk about that. Let's jump into that.
Stomping on his territory?
No.
Darn it, I like doing that.
Definitely that. But I want to address the fact that there are 2 areas where Satan attacked the most. And we're going to talk about it in part 2. He attacked right before, whether it's a miracle, whether it's a blessing,
A breakthrough,
whatever it is.
deliverance.
And then right after. You don't attack in between, because you don't have to.
No, because we do that to ourselves.
So, Word of Mouth Podcast, we coming back on part 2 to this one here.